What's up, Simonics, and welcome back to a new quick win. Today we're adding a rich text editor to our Ionic Angular application using the Quill.js package. The integration of this package is really super simple, and you're gonna have a really powerful text editor including preview in your application in basically no time. If you want to check out the source code, link below the video for all Ionic Academy members, and if you're still not yet a member, go check it out, ionicacademy.com, my place to help you with everything Ionic. But now let's dive into our Quill editor and implement something really cool. Alright, let's get started with our rich text editor by creating a blank new Ionic application using Angular and then diving into our new project once it's ready. And we need to install a few things. So we need ngx Quill and the Quill package, and we should also install the types for Quill because in the end that will help us to use it nicely with TypeScript. So as you can imagine, ngx Quill is just a wrapper around the Quill rich text editor. So this is really a super powerful text editor. I used this in the past and it's really amazing what you can get. And actually the Angular package is also pretty good. So I've definitely seen worse packages and how to include them in the past. So once you got all of this in place, you can head over to your global as CSS and import the Quill Snow package. There's also a different theme called Bubble, but I didn't really get this because it should have some kind of tool tip setting stuff, but it's just, I don't know, it's not really helpful. So I recommend you go with a Snow CSS in here. Now I tried adding oh, actually, I see we're lacking a command. We also need to generate a page. So Ionic generate page display. Go ahead with this as well, please. And for reference, I should do this in every video. I'm using Angular 13 and Ionic 6 with ngx Quill 16 and Quill 1.x.x. Okay, now back to this. We got the import. I tried to add the Quill module simply to the home module, which works to include something. So I can go to the home module, and well, maybe that's a good case actually for the default. So let's do this. Let's add the Quill module in here from ngx Quill, and then we are already good to go with our home page. And we just need the, what's it called? The Quill editor. And I'm just gonna leave it like this. I'm not gonna add anything else here. And let's see what we get. Boom. This is what we get out of the box. But just adding the CSS and adding the module. And this editor is just, it's amazing. So let's give this a try. Try this. Headline. We got everything, like we're in this video for, I don't know, 3 minutes and everything's already working. That's gonna be really horrible for my watch time. Anyway, there's a lot more we can do and we definitely wanna do. So just checking out this out of the box, we could even add stuff like this. So adding links, ionicacademy.com, and then it would maybe work. Yeah. Would work. Well, I don't know. Okay, maybe you shouldn't put localhost in front of that URL. But anyway, most of the stuff in here is really great and working. And I can even add images as far as I know. So let's try this one. It's really pretty cool. So this is our Quill editor out of the box, but there's a lot more that we can do with this editor, and we now want to dive into some customizations. Especially we want to customize the toolbar up here because you usually don't need all of this. So let's see. Now I can finally tell you what I wanted to say, because if I put the configuration for a custom toolbar into this lazy loaded module with Ionic, it's not gonna work. Instead, you're gonna have to add this to your app module. So this is the little trick in here that I figured out after like a half an hour. So let's add the Quill module to our app module, and then we're gonna add for root in here, and then we can add our Quill config in here. And for this, I'm just gonna create something I've seen up front, which looks like this for Quill modules. So there are different blocks for the configuration of a Quill editor. You got debug, you got modules, you got placeholder, read-only, theme. It's pretty well described in the official Quill.js documentation. But we just want to do one thing, and that's changing the modules of our toolbar. So we can create this object and then go into the Quill module and say, please use the modules. Quick note, we don't need to do modules. Expected property shorthand, ESLint. If it's the same name, you can just do it like this. On top of that, we could also change something like the placeholder. So start writing, and then let's hit save on this, and let's see, our toolbar has changed and our little preview in here has changed as well. So for the toolbar, it's pretty much a definition of the different features you want to have, like the text stuff, block quotes, header options, lists, different header styles like this, background color and font color, align, and finally link, image, and video, which are actually really the most interesting of those. Okay, this is how you configure the toolbar, and that's also the place where you would configure anything else. So you could just check out the Quill configuration object right here. Perhaps debug could be helpful in some cases, read only. Here we got the Quill modules. We could also change the Quill format to something else, which is by default, HTML. So really, these are the configurations you can put in here at this step. But now we want to make something helpful out of this and create really a little text editor and then show a preview of the text that we generated. So let's head over to our home module so we can get a better feeling for how we can actually use this. Let's add a variable my text and set this to null. And then within our homepage, we're going to add ng model. Nope, that's not what I wanted. My text. And then we got our text connected. Now we add a function to preview this. So this should open a nice preview with a modal controller. Let's make this an asynchronous function and inject the private modal controller. And probably we could already add the button up here. I'm actually gonna bring in 2 additional buttons. So I'm gonna bring in a clear editor and a button to trigger the preview. And with clear editor, we're gonna in the end, hopefully, directly access our editor element, because you can actually also use its API. So let's in here for now just log my text so we can see what we actually got. So if I do it like this, this is what we get. Really, we just get back basic HTML. And yes, we could have changed the format in our app module. So I would change this to what was the yeah, nice, to something like object. Let's see how this would look like. Then I would get this delta type object. You're gonna see this delta type as well later. That's a specific type Quill is using. It's actually pretty easy. You can see you get basically for everything special, you get the text with insert, and if there's anything like bold, you get attributes as well. And I could now also add a yeah, something like this and that. And if I hit save, you just get everything back in this array, which can be really helpful because storing just a huge HTML string might not be the best idea for your database. I actually don't know how JSON looks. Let's see. No, that's, do you get this as well? When you get nervous, you click basically every key. Yeah, then it will look like this. I feel like actually the object was a lot more helpful. But anyway, we're gonna go back and just use HTML in our case. So for the preview, we now wanna display the modal. So let's add this in here. The modal, and we're gonna use the display page that we generated a bit delayed. in our code. So this should bring up the preview page. In my case, actually already added a tiny bit of styling to that page. And usually I have to include those module pages in the page where I'm calling the modal. So Angular usually complains at least when you make a production build in the end. So go to your home module and also add the display page module in here just to be safe. Okay, so we're now passing our data to the modal page, and that means on our modal page we should define a little input. Add input, and we're just gonna call this one data as well. It's a string, yeah, it's a string. Now we got two options on the display page for how we want to display this. The easiest way to display the data would be to just include it. No, that's not the page. Then inner HTML. So inner HTML, that's the way we usually use if we want to present some kind of data, some kind of HTML. So this would work, and I could now preview this and we'll see exactly the preview. Also, I can't close it, so I should maybe add the close functionality. Modal controller, and then the dismiss function, and also a button. Let's do this. I'm always ending up in the wrong page. This is really the page I want to get into. So now my preview should have the close button. Okay, great. Now, as you can see, this would actually work. So I could have a preview. This is formatted kinda as code. We got headers. Everything is working with a preview. But we already get this warning, and if we want to fix this, we could sanitize the string. This is an Angular thing, but we could also simply use a Quill view on the display page, which is basically made to display the result we get from Quill. So let's go into the display module and also inject the Quill module, or import the Quill module like we did on the other pages. And on the display page, instead of using inner HTML, we now simply use the Quill view. And for the content, we set our data. And as a result, we can once again do something like this and create a list, hit preview, and we get a nice Quill preview without any warnings. So this is a nice way to simply display all the content that you have, that your users created with Quill. It's up to you how you're gonna store this in your database. But the Quill view, I think, should also be fine if we would use the delta object. So let's give this one try, because using the delta format, we definitely can't easily display this. But I think, or at least I hope, the Quill view is actually able to use this object, which is kind of cool. So I would definitely recommend, if you want to display the results your users have created with a Quill editor, to simply use the Quill view. It's a lot easier and more safe. Okay, so I think we're finished with our preview page. There's just one more thing that I want to show you, and that is how you can access the Quill editor as a view child and then perform actions directly with a Quill API. For this, we're gonna inject, no, we're not injecting something, we're just adding a view child, and this will try to find the Quill editor component in our view. I'm just gonna call this editor of the type Quill editor component. Yeah, TypeScript. Now you're happy. I really got strict checks going on and I need more coffee. Oh. Alrighty, right. Let's try the clear editor functionality first. For this, we can access our editor, and the general editor object just comes with the standard settings, the configuration stuff, and events. So if you really want to perform something on the actual editor, you're gonna have to use the Quill editor object, and then the world opens up with great functionality. So these functions here can be found right inside the API documentation of Quill.js. Delete text, get contents, get index, get leave. So that's exactly what we find in here. And we only see them because we installed the types in the beginning. So that's really important if you want to get something like this. And now we could do basically everything. Let's just say set text to an empty string. And when I hit save, I get an error because I'm an idiot. But now we can do it like this, and boom, there we go. We're directly interacting with the editor. There's, I think, actually also like an undo or back. I don't know what's it called, because there's definitely a history stack. So maybe you have to import this into the toolbar if you want to use the undo functionality and redo. But I think it should be somehow possible with the API as well. Anyway, one last thing. You can also subscribe to the changes of the editor. So let's add implements after viewing it, because before this, the Quill editor isn't ready, or actually the view element is not yet ready. But in here, we can finally access it, this editor. And you can use on editor change, on editor created, on focus, on blur, really a lot of events. We're just going to go with on content change today, and then subscribe to the value, which is of the type content change from ngx Quill. And once again, I really love when packages prepare this kind of typing stuff. So we can now log out the change, and let's see. So while I type, we get this change, and here we finally see the delta object again, because that's just the internal structure that Quill is using. We got the old delta, we got the new delta with the information, retain 5 objects or elements, I don't know, then insert D into the second delta block. It's pretty cool. You could do something like this. Let me give you an example. We add the private toast controller as well, toast controller, and then you could, for example, check if someone typed in a specific word. So we can get we can pop the latest change from the delta object, and then check if the index of Ionic in there is greater than 0. So you could now type something, and at some point you type, oh, Ionic, and then, oh, you called me, which would be pretty funny for your users. Or you could just check for profanity words. So that's something you could implement with the on content change check as well. So that's it. You can now access your editor as a view child and run basically everything on it. I think you can also maybe even get the content in different formats with the API. Just check out the official API, which contains really everything you need. And then you're ready to build a pretty powerful, rich text editor with Ionic Angular. All right, and that's it once again for today. I hope you enjoyed this quick win. I actually also gave this a try on my device, so it definitely also works on my iOS device, which is pretty cool. I didn't even have to include any permissions for the camera to access photos, which was kind of interesting. But anyway, again, it's a really powerful editor. You can use the different formats. Perhaps storing HTML and huge base64 strings in your database is not the best idea, so you're gonna have to figure out something for at least the image part. Otherwise, yeah, you could maybe store that the HTML string, but maybe just use the delta format from Quill, because that's also gonna work if you later display the code again for people to edit it. If you enjoyed this quick win, please hit the like button and stay subscribed for more videos about Ionic and Angular in the future. And I hope you will enjoy the editor in your app. I would love to see your app if you edit, so leave a note below if you release some kind of application that contains this editor. So have a great week and happy coding, Simon.